It's Sharon from SharonTheReader.com. I did say that there would be more on Michael Hutchence, so this is Michael Hutchence Part 2. He did say that there was other things he wanted to explain, and he would like to have done a second. And I think we kind of agreed that that would be the case. So before I get into that, I just want to say hi. Hi to all the new people who've joined. Hi to my subscribers from way back. People don't go unnoticed. I always say this every time I do a podcast. It doesn't go unnoticed to me that there are new people who are subscribing, and I just want to thank you for that. And that's a genuine thank you. I'm glad that a lot of people get something out of what it is actually being put out. So, the first thing that Michael said was, there's not a lot to add. And as I looked down the amount of stuff here, there's an awful lot that has to be added, I think, looking at the notes. First thing he said was, get one thing clear, Paula did not intend to commit suicide. He said, if you're in that amount of pain, you will simply go for pain relief. And so she used substances that obviously led to her death. He then said, I really wish you'd talk to Paula yourself. I tried to get her to talk to you, and maybe she will, but at the moment, no. She won't. So I thought, okay, fair enough. I'm taking it from what you're saying, so let's go on. He said before she passed, she really did try to put herself together again. He says that was no easy task. He says she worked very hard on herself. He says anyone who has had a nervous breakdown, which apparently she had, now this is something I was unaware of. I just thought she got into drugs, was in drugs, was fueled by them, and that's how she passed. But apparently, according to Michael, no, that wasn't the way things went down at all. Okay, this is what actually happened. Paula couldn't take it anymore. Things just became completely out of her own control. Before you have a nervous breakdown, during a nervous breakdown, and after a nervous breakdown, things just become unbearable. You see yourself walking into it, you don't know how to get out of it. You're in it, you don't know whether to turn left, right, up, down, or any way. And then suddenly, you're going through it. And gradually, and with a lot of patience, you get to the other side. And that's exactly what happened to Paula. She got to the other side. She went off to a quiet place and she tried to put her life together again. Now, anyone who has a problem with that, really, you have a problem with that. You need to go and look at your own life. Go seriously and look at your life, and you see how you dealt with things that you found you couldn't deal with anymore. So don't tell me that Paula just screwed it up because she had nothing better to do that afternoon. Okay? The woman was trying hard. And at the end of the day, it worked. When she was away, and there was only her and Tiger, they led a very quiet, peaceful, conservative life. Nothing like the life she lived with me. Okay? Let's get those things straight before we start judging her. And I do believe that on this channel there's not a lot of judgment that comes in. I think most of you really do understand where people are coming from, and I'm sorry for getting a little bit angry there. I think she was doing pretty well. I do. And then you leave that quiet life, which she did, and she went back to London. Very different in London. London has a pace all of its own. I've been there. I lived there for a while. It's a pace that it's fast. You know? It's not like where she was before, where she could take things as it came, relax, chill out, go out for a walk, things like that. London doesn't work that way. Not in the area she was from. Not with the lifestyle she had. So it really was, one, it was too early for her to go back. And two, there was the pull of it. London was not the place for her to be at that point in time. She did have good friends there. Bob also did his utmost to try and help her. He tried to help her stay strong. And it sounds strange that I say that about a man that I really should have a lot of anger towards, and I don't have anger towards that man. If anything, I have admiration towards him. But he did try and help her. And at times that help worked. And it kept her grounded, which was what she needed so badly at the time. But then again, things changed and another day came and something else would come up. You know, when we started out, the both of us, we were just so full of life and energy and love. And it was amazing. And I have to be really honest about that, I think, for both of us. I mean, it was just, people talk about love being magical. All of the things that love is supposed to be. We had it. We had arguments and we had amazing get-togethers. So, you know, there was nothing lacking. The problem was there were so many obstacles to get over, and we couldn't see that at the time. That was the problem. And maybe also, even if we had seen it at the time, we still couldn't have read the outcome. Like two young kids of 21, we were madly in love. Our life was going to be perfect. Yes, we were not going to live in England. Yes, we were moving to Australia. Yes, the weather was better. Yes, there was more peace, there was more freedom. Yes, that was our dream. And the thing with dreams is, dreams don't always come true. And we fought. We fought every obstacle to make those dreams come true. And we failed miserably. I tried from this side to try and hold Paula together. And there were times when she would have felt me very close to her. She would have felt my presence. And she always had flowers. She always had purple flowers around the place because they reminded her of me. And she had photographs of me all over the place. And she didn't need those photographs to know what she had lost. And I'm not saying I was anything wonderful. I'm saying what she felt she had lost. Which was basically, it was like a bridge. I would just imagine the both of us together, and one part of the bridge falls, and the other part is left dangling. It's moving up and down. It's not static, it has no base. It's unhinged. And that's exactly the way she was. She was unhinged. So I did try and help her from the other side. And at one time she actually booked a session with a medium to contact me, which would have been really good. I'm not sure it would have helped her in the long term, but it would have been good for her. You know, I could have got my message across, but she backed out at the last moment. She was too tired. And she was, you know, I remember that day that she just continued lying on in bed. So, what can I say about that? Paula was pretty messed up. I would say, in honesty, that there was a faith that she had both in herself and a faith she had in me. And those things were also lost. She lost faith in herself. There was an outside Paula and there was an inside Paula. And that's the thing I think you have to try and understand. And I know everyone has a persona that's their public persona and their personal self. But hers was a little bit more than most people. Paula actually was very vivacious, outgoing, things like that. I probably wouldn't have been quite like that. But one of the things about that was there was a lot of it was false with Paula. And I don't mean she was a false person. I'm talking about the persona was false. Bob knew her. No one knew her better than Bob Geldof. I knew her almost as well. I'm being perfectly honest here. I don't think anyone knew her better than Bob Geldof knew her. He knew how to handle her. He knew what she could cope with. He knew what was best for her, when she sometimes didn't know what was best for her herself. And he was also exceptionally good to her. In many ways, she was his woman, but she was also a little girl to him. And maybe that wasn't what she was to me. Maybe that's where he had the upper hand. Maybe that's what she resented. You would need to be talking to Paula about that. But I've got to say, no one knew her better than he did. Not even me. I'm going to tell you how she started that day. She wasn't feeling too great. And she had a few cups of tea. And she thought it would kind of settle her nerves. And it didn't. And then a friend called. And that was the downfall. Because the friend could easily get their hands on drugs. And Paula was not looking to commit suicide. And I said that at the very beginning. But what she was looking for was to escape pain. Emotional pain. And for the years that followed my death, I believe that she actually managed to almost avoid that wave that hits you. That powerful wave that can take you out, that you cannot have any power over, that is bigger than you. And that's exactly what was terrifying her. That when that wave hit, if she would ever let it hit, and she did everything in her power to not let it hit, was going to completely take her out. That wave was going to hit that day. And she knew it. So when the friend called, the easiest thing to do was to not let the wave hit. Take something. Take something to ease the pain. Take something to take you away from it. Sadly, she did take something to take her away from it. She took something to take her away from my daughter, her children with Bob, that took her out of this world. Would Paula have put her life back together again? Being honest, I think in time she may have. But it would have taken time. And a lot longer than the time that she had up until that point. You know, it is strange that when people think they know someone and they really don't know them, and yet they would consider them almost their best friends. And she had that ability. She could be a best friend to someone, and I mean genuinely a best friend to them, and that person would not know the real depth of Paula. There were one or two, as I say, but they were very few and far between. And that was the unfortunate thing. It's really strange because, to be honest with you, when I think of Bob bringing my daughter up, if I had have been in this world, I think I could have tore his throat out. The thought of him bringing up my daughter. And yet, I sit and I'll tell you straight, I am so grateful that he did. She could not have had a better influence in her life. She fitted into his family and he made so much room for her. And he was there for her. Someone said he used nannies to look after the kids. No, he didn't actually. Yes, there were nannies. But believe me when I say he was their father. He was their father. And much as I am her dad, and I'll always be her father, I'll always be her dad, Bob Geldof was her father. He looked after her, he guided her, he listened to her. He was there for her. What more in this world can anyone do? And he must have at times looked at her and resented the fact that she was my child. Because let's face it, and it's only from this side can you actually see the whole thing happen. I destroyed his life. I'm not saying Paula didn't. I'm saying together the both of us destroyed his life. He had a world. He was a happy man. And in we went with a sledgehammer. And we went after a dream, an impossible dream. So, how can I not sit in admiration and say, this man took on the responsibility that I didn't? And also, just for the record, I did not commit suicide either. Let's get that straight. The one thing that shocked me, and I could have never foreseen it, not when I was in your world, was the death of Peaches. Now that was something. There's no words for that. There are no words I can give you to say what that done. I remember her as a child, and she was a lovely kid. You know, she was a happy kid. She was her mother's daughter. You know, she just was a lovely girl. And I know that had this not have happened, I think Peaches would have been okay. I do. And she left behind her own children. And her father and her sisters have to live with that. So, dreams are wonderful things. Love is a wonderful thing. There's no doubt. Who would not give their right arm to be with the person they love? In honesty, who wouldn't? But sometimes the cost of that love may not be worth it. And people putting flashbulbs in your face, and people clicking every time you walk outside your front door, and people asking very awkward questions in interviews does not help the matter at all. And you cannot give them the real answer, because at the end of the day, even you don't know the real answer. You don't have the foresight to see what's going to happen by your actions. You have the justification, and you'll use that justification, and you will most certainly talk about it. But you don't know where the pieces are going to fall. And the sad thing is, I didn't. And if I had have, could I have given it all up? Could I? Could I have lived in London? Would I? Would it have changed anything? Yes, it would. It would have changed things. But there still would have been damage. Not quite the damage that actually happened while we built our dreams of sandcastles like children. You know, in the whole thing, and I'm being terribly honest here, there was only one adult in the room. And that was Bob Geldof. And I do have to tip my hat to the man, because he could do more than I believe I could have done. He gave more, he accepted more, he put his foot down when he had to. He was a father to 4 children, one of which he lost, and it was his own. He lost the woman he loved. Even my death didn't bring her back. She lost herself. Can you imagine that? You actually lose yourself? I think people do get lost with the other person when they're in love. But this is totally different from what I'm saying. Yes, we both lost ourselves to each other in love. But I'm talking about after my own death. Paula lost herself. And the thing that I think a lot of people wouldn't believe is, if you see Paula and if you'd known Paula, she was a very strong person. She really was a very strong person. She went after what she wanted, and I'm talking ambitious-wise. She didn't hesitate. There was nothing that made her say, I can't do. As far as she was concerned, I'll overcome it and I'll do it. But even at that, there was a fragility. And I believe that that's the fragility that Bob saw and knew better than I did how to handle. So, we'll not all stay in this world forever, and we will meet again. And I will be the very first person to shake his hand. because he was more of a man than I ever was. And I'm not putting myself down. I was not a bad person. There's no point in me sitting here letting on to you, oh, you know, he's so good, I was such a bad person. That's not the case. I wasn't a bad person. I didn't set out to hurt anyone. I simply got caught up in something. And it was something I was willing to be caught up in. And it was something I believed that would have had a good end. So why would I have ever stopped? I would honestly say friends of mine, family of mine, people I knew in passing at parties, at gatherings, probably would say the same thing, but mostly if you talk to my friends. I was a decent human being, and I will not deny that, but I have another decent human being when they cross onto my path and into this life, and that's a person I will have the privilege of shaking their hand and saying, thank you. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for being there when I was not there. Thank you for having the stability to not get messed up in things that I got messed up in, that Paula got messed up in, that your daughter got messed up in. And I look at my own daughter, and today she's a beautiful young woman, and I am so proud of her. I am so proud of her. And I'm around her a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm around that family a lot. And I'm just going to call it her family. Maybe someday I will get Paula to speak with you. In the meantime, I just really want to thank you. I want to thank you for letting me put it out there, because there are so many stories and they're not true. You know, so many things that people came off with. Like Paula was just hooked on drugs. She just loved drugs. She couldn't get enough drugs. That was not the case. The day she died, I think that wave that she was dreading, that she really, really knew that she could not live through, that she could not have any control over, the thing that would have taken her out, she did what she did. But she did not mean it to take her out of this world. She used it as a coping mechanism. And if people don't see why people take drugs, it's not because we love the fucking taste of them. It's because they ease the pain or the stress you're living under. Then you may find a thing called compassion. Morality is a wonderful thing, isn't it? We all have morality down there. And yet, how many of us really have compassion? Genuine, true compassion. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you for letting me set the record straight. And to Bob Geldof, I will never be able to thank you enough. I guess I better go and let you people get on with what yous get on with down there. So, I'm handing you back to your host. I think that's me. Okay. What I say now? Yes. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope yous are all keeping very well. I hope yous are really taking good care of yourselves, good care of each other, and till next time, I think all I have to say is take care, God bless, and we will speak soon. Bye.